The Ubuntu utilities head, tail, more, and less give us different ways of perusing the contents of text files. What I find myself using this most often for is parsing log files on my Ubuntu systems. In this video, I'll demonstrate some examples of these tools and a few of their more common options. So I'm going to cd into my documents directory because I have a few documents that I'm going to use this for. Now the first one is more. It's the most basic file perusal utility. It lets us page through a text file on the command line, one page at a time. So if I do this to this file trnt.txt, which is the Road Not Taken poem by Robert Frost, it gives me the first page, the contents that fit in my console window, and it shows me how much has been displayed. So 83% of it's been displayed, and I can just hit the spacebar or the enter key, and enter will step down one line at a time, or if I press the spacebar, it will go to the next page. If I have a larger file, if I do more, I have a larger file here somewhere, I think in downloads, this PG2600. So if I do more, PG2600.txt. So this is a text ebook of War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. Now if I press the spacebar, it will step through the book one page at a time. So if I want to go down, I'll just hold the spacebar. So here it has some text, the contents of the book. I could read it to the end here, press the spacebar, and it will give me the next page. So it's a very blunt pagination tool. Or if I just hit enter, I can go through one line at a time and the spacebar to go one page at a time. And then Q to quit out of it. Now, if I go back to my documents, one option is the -P option. What this does is when I hit the spacebar to page to the next page, if it's a small file, it makes sure that it does fully page to the next page. Now, if I didn't have the -P option, I hit enter, hit the spacebar, you'll see it goes as far as it can, but my cursor is still at the bottom of the screen. What the -P option does is make sure that the entire contents, it adds whatever space it needs to push the entire contents off the page that were on the previous page. Another option that comes up you might want to use is the -S option. So this takes any blank lines in the document. So if there's multiple or large amounts of white space or blank lines, it converts them into a single blank line. So that might be kind of handy to go through a file with lots of empty space in it. Now, the next command, less, it's similar to more, but it gives us greater navigation capability and searchability in the file that we're perusing through. So if I do less on the same file, here I use the arrow keys to go up and down. With more, I can't go back like this. I can use the G command for the beginning of the file, Shift G, so capital G, and it'll take me to the end of the document. If I type / I enter a search term, let's say road, it will highlight those and will take me to where those are in the file. And if I hit N, it takes me to the next, and Shift N or capital N takes me to the previous. And capital F is for follow. So if I hit Control C, it aborts it. Now, where that's handy, if I do less on, let's say, a log file, and I hit, so let's say auth.log, which is in var log /auth. So if I hit Shift F for follow, it takes me to the end of the document, and it sits there waiting for something to happen. Now, if I hit Control Alt T to bring up another terminal window, and I do something, let's say sudo apt-get update, put in my password, this will add an entry to this auth log log file, and you'll see here, following it with less, as soon as something happens, a moment later, it will be picked up and displayed in this log. So I'm actually following the contents of the log file, and I can monitor the file in real time. So that's using the capital F command in less. Now the other thing I'd like to demonstrate is the head command. If I type head, a file name, it will give me the first 10 lines of that file. Or if I specify -n and a number, let's say 5, it will just give me the first 5 lines. So right here, including blank lines, so the first 5 here. Now another thing I can do, if I do head -n, if I do -20, it excludes the last 20 lines of the file. So if I type that in, it'll give me the head of the file excluding the last 20. Or if I do a bigger number, we should see fewer lines. So it kind of wraps around from the back of the file. The other command, tail, which I use more often, you can use, let's say, tail on that same file. It will give me the last, by default, the last 10 lines of the file, or whatever I specify by n. Say if I want the last 5 lines, I just give it -n and 5. Now another thing you can do with tail, like we did with less, is follow. So tail -f, and I can give it that same log file. And if I go back here and run another sudo, let's say, I just as I'm using this video, I see the software updater prompt me, oh, it's for a restart. I'll restart later. But sometimes a software updater comes up and says, oh, we have updates available for you. Do you want to update your system? Well, another way we can update the system is on the command line. So sudo apt-get upgrade. And when I run the upgrade, you'll notice that as soon as I ran it, it had this log entry saying that, oh, this command was run by this user as a sudo as root. So it detects sessions for root. So any root access in the system gets logged to this auth log. And if I hit yes or just enter for the default, which is yes, it'll update these files. And when it finishes, it closes that root session here. So another way to monitor log files in real time is using tail -f. So I can just Control-C and quit out of it. And that concludes this introduction to the head, tail, more, and less utilities.